Hello and welcome to another live episode of Proceed with Passion Q&A with your host Terry Schilling, where I bring on fellow entrepreneurs, writers, creative humans to talk about their journey and how they, have established this career that they love and they're following their passions. And today my guest is Jessica Foster of Keys and Copy, the SEO content specialist, if you will, all around. Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Having a good morning. Have my Starbucks.
There you go. Right. The creative juice right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so really looking forward to this conversation, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a few people in my Facebook Copy Co-op group reach out with some questions. They're excited about this one as well. And everybody watching on YouTube, hello. To the replay watchers, hello as well. Just get that out of the way here.
Yeah.
But guys, if you have questions as we go through this, please send them in the chats and we'll get to them as much as we can. But Jessica, as I start all of these, I like to start by, going through some of your work experience and how you got to where you are today, as an entrepreneur, as you will. So go back to going to college. You went to, Seattle Pacific, then University of Washington.
University of Washington, mostly.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. And then to study psychology. And so, and then you made obviously the shift into marketing, but what were some of the big takeaways, from your last couple of years there at University of Washington?
So I actually did a senior capstone on, basically we could do whatever project we wanted. Yeah. And I was really interested in traveling, and I had kind of this wild hair that I wanted to start a travel blog anyway. So I made that my senior capstone. And through that, I learned a lot about managing a website, SEO, marketing, and stuff like that. So this was right on the cusp of graduation, and I had originally planned on going to graduate school to become a psychologist, and then I was like, I love this way more and it's less stressful than psychology. I think psychology, or at least social work, which is kind of what I was moving toward, was going to be very draining. And it just opened the door to a whole new world, and I never had anticipated myself being in marketing. But it was interesting because I had a role at the Boys and Girls Club, working on creating projects. Basically, I had a lot more freedom to create things and stuff like that. And so the marketing side kind of touched on that passion of creating things, managing projects and stuff like that. And so basically, right after graduation, I was like, I don't know what I want to do anymore.
Like most people,
I just studied for 5 years. I got a degree in, psychology and also gender studies. Imagine that. And then I was like, okay, well, I just want to travel, and I can't make money with a travel blog, I don't think, but I'm going to try. Rather than go back to school for marketing, because University of Washington has a really good business school. I decided to apply for jobs, and that's where I landed a position as an SEO specialist, working in-house at a marketing agency. That was SEO for law firms, which was pretty dry and an entry-level position. So it was just kind of turn the fire hose on, learn a lot about SEO, but it wasn't the kinds of projects that I wanted to work on. So I started taking on freelance projects about 6 months into my job there, and I was doing my travel blog on the side. And then I realized what I really liked was the content side of it, not so much the technical SEO side. And I just decided, I don't want to do this office job. I just want to have my own business. That's kind of what I've always wanted to do. And so I launched into that. But there's definitely a kind of wavering sort of period of time between that job and having a full-time business. So I decided to jump into freelancing and nanny part-time as some, cushion income. And my business just took off faster than I anticipated. I was going to give myself a year, and then it just took a couple months for it to really pick up. That's in the nutshell version of my job history, I guess.
That's Jessica's origin story of where she is today. Yeah. I see that you were at, the Mockingbird marketing and Raven tools for a couple years there right after graduation.
So Raven Tools is actually a contracted position. So about that time, I already had my freelancing job, I guess, freelancing business. And so I was writing content for them. Same thing with, Salesforce was way down the road, but a lot of the positions there were contracted jobs that I secured through Keys and Copy, my own business.
Yeah. And so was it Keys and Copy from the beginning, as you kind of, it was a side hustle and then you were able to move into it full time, more or less? But was it always Keys and Copy, or was it just kind of like, I'm Jessica Foster, I'm going on Upwork, Fiverr, doing contracts? You know, how were you getting work? How were you getting work on the side?
Yeah, so I'm very type A sort of perfectionist person. So I wanted to have like a very good tested concept before I launched my business. So I wasn't freelancing necessarily. Like, so when I was working at Mockingbird, I was freelancing on the side because it's like I have a full-time position, and I didn't see it as being realistic as having a part-time business on the side. Now I know that that is a possibility. But back then I wanted to launch like an actual business. And so I put a lot of thought into naming my business, how I was going to structure it, what the offers were going to be. And so I landed my first client as Keys and Copy through a mentor that I was working with, actually a consultant. And that was a referral client, and I just kind of dove into it. So it's basically been Keys and Copy from the beginning, because I just wanted everything to be perfect, and I had my website and all of that ready to go. And not much has changed in terms of my business structure since then, which is probably not the norm for a lot of businesses. They'll go through different ups and downs and not sure who their niche is and all of that. But I just kind of put a lot of thought into it before I actually launched it. But there's different ways of doing that, you know?
Yeah. And so I'm interested to ask you this question, because I've asked other people who brand just their personal name, or they come up with a name like you did with Keys and Copy. So it's not, I'm Jessica Foster. You know, I'm Keys and Copy. You may be with Jessica Foster. What was kind of the thought process there?
Yeah, so for one, my name is really popular, and it's taken, like every domain is taken, every username is taken.
Yeah.
So that was part of that decision. I also I was thinking long-term in terms of having a agency that I might not necessarily want under my personal brand name. I am my brand, though. Most people associate with me with Keys and Copy because I'm very vocal about, you know, I'm very transparent and open, and I'm talking about my business. But I use my brand name at the same time, so they're kind of one and the same. I understand like people do it under their own name and they do it under an agency. I didn't want to be an anonymous, faceless agency owner. I felt like there were so many out there like that, and I was like, what is going to make me stand out? And for one, being a woman in the SEO industry, because there's about 15% of women in the SEO industry, I wanted to be very different and transparent that I am a female business owner. My branding is pink, not that necessarily is associated with being a woman, but it's very different from the lime green and the blue that you'll see in the industry. And so I think that was something that helped me stand out pretty quickly. So yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer there. I'm always just curious how people kind of shift that, because I've had the same mentality too of, if I want to build an agency, do I want to be like Terry Schilling marketing agency, right? It's like having that other kind of brand name, I think is pretty, you know, would have been a good idea. But right now it's Terry Schilling, but maybe I'll get like an LLC or get a domain with something else. But
well, one of the things when I was speaking to like mentors and other copywriters and stuff like that, I wanted to have a small like boutique agency, but I didn't want to give my clients the impression that I was writing all of the content myself, because I felt like that was not necessarily like transparent. So where I am now, I haven't had to really run into the issue of clients being like, are you writing all the content? Because I market myself as an agency owner, and I have writers working with me. And so it's kind of taken the pressure off there. I don't know. There's lots of different business structures, and I think they can work a lot of different ways. So that's just
that's a good point too, of just having the other writers on your side, that you are a team, if you will, under the agency. And I know for what you do at Keys and Copy, content planning, keyword research, web pages, blog posts. So you mentioned you're not much on the technical side. You know, you also do the writing and like really the customer facing things of it as well. And I'm just curious, like with the writing side, did you want to do that to really use some of the psychology background as well? Because I feel like I've read psychology things with copywriting, and it's just, it makes it more like interesting to me when writing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in marketing that has to do with psychology. I don't think I was as intentional about it as a lot of writers are, like looking up the psychology of buying and stuff like that. I think I just automatically got it. That like the purpose of content is to entice users to do something, and you need to understand what their goals are. And I learned early on from other copywriters the market research process, which I think has made a big difference in the content that I write, that I take the time to try and understand both my clients and, you know, their offer and the users that they're trying to reach. So rather than just targeting a certain keyword and writing content that's, you know, 1,500 words, I'm really trying to tell the story with the content, like you're addressing whatever their pain point is and leading them toward a goal, which is going to ultimately drive the conversions that clients are looking for, even if they think they just need traffic and rankings, which a lot of them do. They just want traffic and rankings.
Right.
Like that's rarely the end goal, right? Like you're trying to get them to subscribe or buy something or call you and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes my content very different. The onboarding process and the research process. So in terms of psychology, it is very much about understanding what the user is struggling with, what their intention is when it comes to, you know, searching that keyword, which search intent is a big thing in the SEO content space because Google is trying to interpret what the user is searching for based on a certain keyword. So that's psychology. It's also, you know, algorithm, but it's psychology too. And what I like to say about SEO content is, or like Google in general, is that Google's algorithm is trying to imitate the natural search and reading process of a user. It's not going to be 100% because it's a robot, but that's what it's trying to do. So when people are trying to game the algorithm with trying to chalk keywords in everywhere, they kind of get distracted by the technical side and less the psychology side. And on the Google goal is to trying to imitate what the user is doing. And so if you're writing content for the user first, you're naturally going to include a lot of those keywords in there. And then the formatting of the content just helps Google and users understand what your content is about.
It's like, don't forget about like the human element. Like you're writing to a human, you're not just servicing the robot to rank high. Like you still need to help tell people how you improve their life in a way as well. Even like how you structure the phrases. Like you need the keywords, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I think people just try to hit certain keywords and use them in certain places and stuff like that. And I'm like, if you're writing for the user, you're naturally going to include those keywords in there. And Google's algorithm is getting much, much better at understanding the context of your content, even without those keywords. So if you're using a phrase that is even like vaguely similar to what your quote target keyword would be, Google is getting better at understanding that. So you don't need to use best law firm Seattle 5 times throughout your page. You could be like, oh, we're a law firm based in Seattle. We are, you know, something like that. That's like flows better. Google is getting better at understanding that. So, I mean, that's good news for writers like us who already hypothetically know how to write for the user. And the SEO content side is just structuring the content to make it easier for Google's algorithm to understand. So including the keyword in the title, which is obvious, it's common sense that you want to summarize what the page is about, using it in the headings, organizing your content so it's easier for the user to scan visually. Google's algorithm is basically trying to do the same thing. So that's where the formatting comes in.
No. And then I want to talk about the content planning. So if you're like a business owner, or let's say you're a freelance writer and you're starting out, like, hey, I can offer you to write content articles. And a lot of times you get like, are you familiar with SEO? Right? Because they want to rank and they want to get traffic. But what's the first couple steps here for determining a content strategy? Like, how would you approach that? How would you give advice to beginners there?
Yeah. So the first question I ask myself is SEO content going to help them? Not every website needs SEO. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because a lot of website owners will be like, I need to rank, I need SEO, da, da, da. And a lot of times for very competitive spaces like digital marketing, there's so much competition for those keywords that a small new website has a very hard time ranking for those keywords, especially if they're competitive and they're like the shorter, broader keywords.
Yeah.
So you have to be realistic that is there search volume for the keywords that they hypothetically want to target? Are those keywords actually relevant to their audience? Because a lot of times you'll have website owners who are like, I want to rank for this. I'm like, why? And
it's like impossible. It's like I've had clients like that too. It's like, I want to rank for dietary supplements. It's like, well, it's going to take a while, I imagine, or like it's hard to kind of navigate.
Yeah, like what kind of dietary supplements, you know, and how much competition is there. And then the third thing is to set expectations from the beginning in terms of how much traffic they can realistically generate, which I posted about on LinkedIn recently, how a standard small agency site will have like a slow upward trajectory of getting traffic because they're going to target low competition, but low search volume keywords. And so they might be wanting to get thousands of visitors a month, but I'm like, there's only 100 people searching for this keyword. So I recommend starting with the most relevant, low competition, probably low search volume keywords and scale up rather than go after the big fish where you're going to be completely dominated by the pages that are already ranking for those keywords. And those sites probably have been around for a long time. They probably have backlinks, they have more authority. And so you as a writer, and ultimately it reflects poorly on you, right? If you promise them the world and are under deliver. So I'd rather be like, we're going to go after these low search volume keywords. They're lower competition, so you have a much better chance of ranking for them, but you're not going to get a ton of traffic because not a lot of people are searching for them. And so the expectation is that we are going to start with those and basically saturate all of those with our content and then go on to slightly more competitive keywords. But usually there's a lot of different scenarios. And that's why I kind of recommend having, like if you're going to dig deep into SEO content writing, to have a SEO specialist, at least as a consultant on your side, as a partner or someone you can refer to, where you're like, I don't know what this website is doing. I don't know if SEO content is really going to move the needle. Because a lot of times, like the client will think that SEO content is really going to save their site, where there might be technical SEO issues going on that haven't been addressed yet. So if I have any sort of red flags about like, I don't know if this client really knows SEO, or I don't know if they've been doing it, I'm not confident that their site is optimized, then I will usually pitch them on an SEO audit, which I will work with my SEO specialist on. And that will give us a lot of information on how their site is currently performing and whether content is really going to move the needle for them. The other side of that, if you don't want to do that whole process, you can definitely work with SEO and digital marketing agencies that are confident that their clients are already have optimized websites. But if you're going to work small business owners, you don't want to pitch them SEO content and then they're like, this is not doing anything, where it might be because their web pages aren't even being indexed or something like this, something not having to do with you at all. So that's just like a big
I think that's
an onboarding sort of process.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to differentiate when you're going into a client, because I know a lot of freelance writers side of it, they're not really on that technical side, right? So they don't really do the SEO, like they do the audits. But I guess what tools then would you recommend for the writer side to have that kind of the search keywords to really help them navigate that if they don't want to hire the SEO specialist?
So again, if you want to really do SEO content writing, I highly recommend investing in a premium tool. It's going to give you the most accurate data possible. So I use SEMrush, and I also use, with clients, you'll be able to cover that. And then you can look up the search volume and competition level of the keywords that your client thinks they want to rank for. I usually pull these into a Google Sheet and organize them based on kind of the category. So we'll have like a cluster of similar keywords. So you're not overlapping pages, because that's another issue, is that they'll think they want to rank for digital marketing on this page and the digital marketing agency on this page and digital marketing agency strategies on this page. And like the keywords that are way too similar, they can compete against each other. That's a little bit more complex. But SEMrush will definitely help you find the best keywords for your client. It will also help you find related keywords that you might not have thought of before. And you can input their competitors, URL in the search box, and it will generate the keywords that their competitors are ranking for, which can also give you some ideas.
Okay.
But like if you see at the top of the report in SEMrush, like digital marketing agency, 16,000 searches a month or something, and you're like, yeah, like I want to get them all that traffic, it's probably unrealistic, because if you do a Google search for that term, you'll probably see a lot of like high authority sites. Also for digital marketing agencies, a lot of times they're targeting a specific service area. And so you can pare down the competition by doing, Seattle Digital Marketing Agency, if that's where their service area is. So just because you see high traffic numbers doesn't mean it's the best fit for them. Like I said, you want to go after the low competition ones, which tend to be low search volume because not a ton of people are searching for them, but that's okay. But
you can still get on that first, second page of Google and those keywords and still bring some traffic in, and then you can slowly build word of mouth. It's like there's hope there still.
Yeah, and scale it up, and you can sell them on other things, right? Like the content is optimized here. You're laying the SEO foundation for them. That content could be shared to their email list and social media. But as a professional, you want to set the expectations clear at the beginning. You don't want to promise them thousands of searches a month or even, quote, a lot of traffic if the keywords that you're targeting don't actually get that many searches. So a lot of clients will want quick wins. And for me, that's just not an ideal client for me, because they're not realistic about what we can accomplish with the content. But if they know we're in this for the long haul, and they're comfortable with that investment, then that's fine. But, SEO can take a while. So if you're basically taking your client's money for 3 months and they're not seeing any traffic, and they don't understand that it is a long haul sort of thing, then they're going to get mad at you, and it's going to reflect poorly on you, even though it's not your quote fault, but it's still your problem.
Totally. Yeah, no, interesting. And then so like if somebody's wanting to write to rank on Google, you would definitely recommend having one of those premium tools compared to like maybe something on the more free side.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Keywords Everywhere Chrome extension, which
I've used that before. I know there's a Surfer one. I guess, would you recommend any free tool that could be helpful? Maybe come up with some different, maybe like headlines for articles?
Yeah, so Surfer is good, the one you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And Keywords Everywhere, which are good, but they're not great, is the thing. I always take those with a grain of salt. And, if you're going to really sell, clients on SEO content writing, you want to get the best data possible, because you don't want to target a keyword that doesn't have any search volume or something like that. But that said, Ahrefs and SEMrush are not 100% accurate either. So we're all just doing our best here, to try and target the best keywords possible. So if you're just dipping your feet in, definitely those 2 Chrome extensions will be helpful. It's been a while since I've used any of the other free tools that are similar to SEMrush. And I actually have an article on my website that talks about my favorite content optimization tools. So there's one for tagline writing and or title writing and Grammarly and stuff like that. But at this point, like I don't use a lot of those tools myself anymore, because it's just kind of like I got it down. But I can share that at some point if someone wants it. I just can't remember all of them off the top of my head.
No, we'll direct everybody to your site, and like anybody watching, like follow Jessica on LinkedIn. She's super active there, posting a lot of content, a lot of good stuff for SEO. If you guys need some help with that as well. I'm interested. So it's like SEMrush would definitely, you need those tools to even see how you're ranking, right? Because you can't do that with the free tools. That's just really search volume.
There is Google Search Console, assuming the client has that set up. Also Google Analytics. So both of those are free, but that's assuming the client has had those, configured and set up for a while in order to track the traffic that's coming in. Some of them won't. And again, this is a small business sort of issue that if they don't know SEO, they might not have this. And then you're kind of really you're starting off blind, which is why like I do usually recommend people to try and partner with agencies that are doing like SEO for a client and need to source content, because they usually know to have Google Analytics set up. So Google Analytics will tell you some of the keywords that they're ranking for. Will tell you the organic and social media traffic and referral traffic that's coming in. And Google Search Console is better in terms of ranking and really telling you the keywords that they're ranking for, but sometimes they don't pick up on those things. But those are the two ones that in my onboarding process, I make sure clients have those set up already. If they don't, it's next to impossible to really get started, at least as a writer, with an SEO content strategy, because we're like, we don't know what you're ranking for already.
Right.
And I don't know if the issues that you have are technical or on the content side or the on-page side. And I prefer not to work blind, but some people like a challenge. And if you're realistic about, you're like, I don't really have much information to go off of, but we're going to start here. Then as long as the client's on board, then usually it's okay. But you don't want to, like, again, promise them the world, and then you're like, oh, I don't even know where to start.
You need those tools kind of in your arsenal. And I think that's just a good point, because I meet a lot of writers who are just like, I'm an SEO copywriter, SEO content writer. And it's like, well, I mean, I wonder how, what's your process like? Like, do you do a lot of the things you just said, Jessica? Like, do you have them set this up? Do you offer these tools and how you can help them rank and search those, smaller keywords, or those ones that you can easily rank for compared to the digital marketings of the world? So that's awesome advice. Now, I just had a comment here from Annie Palmer, who's joining in. Good point about smaller businesses maybe not needing to have SEO marketed to them if they don't rank. So some insight there. It's great. And then Jessica, you froze a little bit. Did I lose you? We did reference, may have a couple of technical issues here. Everybody's watching, but we'll see if she comes back here. Let's see. But some really good points from Jessica there. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them in the chats here if you're watching along on Facebook or on YouTube. See if we should bring in her back here. I think she was having some Wi-Fi issues. She may try to hop back in. But I really like that point too, Annie. Thanks for your comment about the smaller businesses maybe not needing to have SEO. It's like they all like, I want SEO, I want to rank. Well, it's going to be a process. So it's better to be transparent about them, about how you can do that, and maybe meet or connect with people who have that SEO technical background where you can offer that service as part of it. Because again, if you're paying even $100 a month for that bigger service, you bring on an SEO kind of technical specialist, you can offer more money for those services and provide more value for them as well. Wait a couple more minutes here, guys. See if Jessica comes back. Sorry about that. But thank you guys for your patience here. A lot of good stuff from Jessica so far. And keysandcopy.com for her. Again, LinkedIn. She has a lot of great sources. And then look her up on YouTube as well. There's a lot of good things there too. Let me just see if she may come back. We may go ahead and maybe wrap this up if we're still having issues. It's the power of live TV, everybody. To people who are watching, thank you for waiting along and listening to me ramble here. But any other questions that you may have, please feel free to chat. I'll try to answer them as well here as we wait and see if Jessica comes back on here. But if not, maybe we'll just go live in the Facebook group and wrap up the rest of the conversation here. But again, everybody, don't have her yet on here. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast right now, but we may bounce right back after I hear from her. So guys, thank you so much. We're reaching about 30 minutes. Some good stuff from Jessica Foster. Again, Keys and Copy, check her out. But let me see. We may jump right back on here on Facebook. Oh, I think she's back. Hey.
Great. Wi-Fi. Awesome. I don't know what's going on here.
It's okay. So I was just rambling, trying to kill time. I think I did okay at it. So I think we're all right.
What was your last question?
Well, I was going to, I was making a comment. I don't know if you saw, Annie made a comment that we had in the group. And she said, good point about smaller businesses maybe not needing to have SEO marketed to them if they don't rank. And then I think you froze there as I did that. So I don't know if you, Yeah,
I just want to say that I think some writers might see like SEO content is really profitable, which can be, but not every client needs to be pitched on it. You need to really understand like the goals and whether their audience is searching for businesses like them. And so that's why it helps to have keyword research tools to look at those hypothetical keywords. So, like on your onboarding call with them, just kind of ask them what they think they want to rank for. And before you send them a proposal, use the keyword research tools to see if there's actual search volume there, what sites are already ranking for those keywords and whether it's realistic. Because at the end of the day, it reflects poorly on you if you don't get any results for them. They're not going to think, well, they're not going to think it's their fault. They're going to be like, well, we told you the keywords we wanted to rank for, and you were supposed to help us rank for it. So that's why it really takes that understanding and not just think, oh, everyone needs SEO content. As long as I optimize it, I'm doing the best that I can. And if they don't rank, that's on them, sort of thing. And I think that's kind of the lazy way to do it. And it's not going to help you become like a big profitable business owner if you're not generating like tangible results for your clients. So you're just going to create content for them that's not going to really do anything. And you're maybe not going to struggle, but you're not going to reach that next level in your business in terms of case studies and amazing testimonials and all of that stuff that will help you justify charging higher rates.
Yeah. So Annie reached out with another question here. Is it worth it as a copywriter to bring on an SEO technical specialist to set up the infrastructure for clients that don't track it already?
Yes. So I have someone who I've been working with basically for the past 3 years. He's an SEO specialist. He's very qualified in technical SEO, and he also does web development. So for the clients that I have been doing SEO for a while, that I know they're generating traffic because I'll ask them, but we want to make sure they're really technically sound before we do SEO content. I ask him to do an audit usually, and so we know what we're working with. And if after the audit we don't think it's a good fit, then we'll be honest about that, or I'll have the information that I need to move forward with the content strategy. I don't do a lot of those projects anymore because it's like the clients that are really lost when it comes to SEO tend to be the most difficult ones. There's probably a reason why they haven't invested in content at this point. They're obviously thinking about SEO content way before they're thinking of optimizing their site, which is another kind of red flag because they're looking for a cheaper Band-Aid solution rather than really optimizing their website. So this kind of comes with experience, I think, like knowing what the red flags are. So when you're first starting out, like that's why I recommend maybe working with the SEO and digital marketing agencies that know what they're doing and their clients' sites are optimized. So you can kind of like understand what to look for and what to not overlook. But with small businesses, they can be like completely lost in terms of like how their site is is structured, where their traffic's coming from, whether analytics are set up, and it can be like a whole mess. And sometimes I, recommend writers can have like a technical SEO specialist to consult with, to be like, hey, can you take a look at the site and let me know if it warrants doing a technical audit or if they are a total mess and we just don't want to bother with it. Because I think as a new writer, you don't want to take on more than you can chew. At this point, like I kind of know what to look for and what are my deal breakers, but as a new writer, it's easy to just look at a site and you're like, oh, it looks good. Like I can just write content for it and hopefully it'll rank. And that can be kind of like a dangerous game, depending on the clients, if they have really high expectations and unrealistic expectations, because they usually do if they don't know the value of SEO, they haven't been doing it for their site, and they think that content is just going to be a Band-Aid solution.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, Annie, thank you for your question. I appreciate that. Appreciate you watching here. As we I want to maybe do some more like these quick questions just for more best practices for SEO, because I got a lot of people asking in the group here, just some things like this here, Jessica. So is putting keywords in bold throughout my blogs, as well as including links to other web pages, resources, are these effective practices for SEO? So like bolding headlines and even like messing with H1 headlines as well.
So, okay, there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
There's the title tag, which is the page title, which gets displayed in the search results. So that's what people see if they Google the keyword and they see the title of the page. So for that, you usually want to include the target keyword because at least visually, the user will have like that ping of recognition that that page or that article is about me. And Google will also interpret that as like, that is what the page is about.
Yeah.
The H1 heading is what's displayed on the actual page visually when you click, you click on the page and you see the title of the blog post and the article. I usually want to include a target keyword or a similar keyword there, just again to reiterate, this is what you're getting when you read this article. It's just kind of common sense. In terms of the H2s, those are there's a lot going on there. So it helps you organize the page into kind of digestible sections. So rather than the user having to read through huge blocks of content, they know that this section is about what is digital marketing. This one is digital marketing strategies. This is bonus tips for improving your digital marketing. So it's well organized visually so the user can scan through and find the information they're looking for. It also adds context to the page so Google's algorithm knows what the page is about. So in terms of including the target keywords there, it's kind of common sense in that, or it's obvious, I would say, that you want to organize the sections with a headline that summarizes what the section is about. And naturally, that will probably include your target keyword. In terms of bolding the keywords throughout the page, that doesn't make much of a difference. And visually,
from a technical side, it's not a big deal, but visually it may.
No, I mean, like Google's going to read it regardless of whether it's bold or not. And it's not going to necessarily like, oh, this is bold. Like, I really need to hone in on this. Bold helps into like visually, again, to organize the content. And you might want to do that above maybe like a list of items, right? Like, these are the 5 things that you should look for. But what was the other question? Oh, linking to other pages on your site.
Backlinking, things like,
So internal links definitely help if you're directing users to other helpful resources on your own website. It's just providing more value to the user. If you're linking out to websites, you need to be kind of more discerning because you don't want to link to a competitor's website. You don't want to link to a website or a web page that's ranking for the keywords that you want to rank for, ideally, because it's like, why would you send your users to another website when they can find better information there? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I usually link to external pages if it's like a study that has statistics or something, or a really like thorough article, like well-researched article or something on a topic that I haven't covered on my own site. But you want to keep users on your site as much as possible. So if you have an article like 10 best digital marketing strategies, and you're like, for more digital marketing strategies, see this other website, like, why don't do that? And you don't want to spam it with internal links. They should be like contextual, right? Like, is it relevant to the page that you're writing now? Is it going to direct users to other information that they're looking for? But like with external links, I see writers do this a lot because I hire them. They'll link to, like, we'll have a page on like sales funnels or something, like, what is a sales funnel? And then HubSpot will have an article like, what is a sales funnel? I'm like, well, we don't want to link to the competitor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that. And don't do that for your clients either, because it's like you're basically directing kind of, it's like an external link is like a vote of confidence from your site that the other site is legit. So it's kind of like Google's like, oh, this site wants me to look at this site. Okay, I'll do it.
Interesting.
So that's what I say about external links. This is kind of an advanced method, maybe. I definitely recommend looking into this. But what was I going to say? Featured snippets. So featured snippets is a way of like Google organizing your content visually in the search results to help entice clicks. So for some, and there's a lot of best practices about this too, but I recommend it. It kind of has to do with formatting your content. But in terms of using bulleted lists or numbered lists or like bolding certain sections and stuff like that, can help Google kind of recognize that this section is like really valuable and really well organized. and it might display it in the search results ahead of everyone else, which is valuable. I've landed that for like a couple of my own pages. So you might see, like, I think if you Google like LinkedIn SEO and there's an article on search engine land, that article, all right, you'll see like at the top of the search results there usually will be like a block of text versus just like the tagline and the meta description. So that's an example of one kind of featured snippet. But what I want to say is, like, your goal with SEO content writing is to write content that's better than what's already ranking. So if you're focused on like, oh my God, how do I finesse the H1 and the H2s, and do I need to bold this and include keywords there? You're thinking like so micro versus looking at the overall value of the articles that are already ranking. That's what the user and Google is looking for. So like Google doesn't care if you included the keyword one more time than your competitor if the content is a bunch of fluff and everything. So that's your goal. It's easier said than done, right? Writing something that's better than a top ranking page, but that's where your head should be at. Like, how can I provide more value than what my competitors are doing or your client's competitors are doing?
No, love that. Love that last piece of advice there. Kind of bring that all home. It's so true though. Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, focus on the value, like the valuable of the content. It's just, even when you look at like creating content for LinkedIn and Twitter, it's just like, if your content is good, people are going to see it. Like, like you could talk about the same topic somebody else does, but if it's, again, if you focus on it being better, adding something new to it, you're going to see better results, you know, occasionally down the road. So
yeah, a lot of the SEO best practices are the same, and they're pretty consistent even since I started. There's a lot of things that you still need to learn and stay on top of trends and stuff like that. But for SEO content writers, if you're writing for the user and really focusing on the value you're providing, and then following SEO best practices to format your content, then you're over halfway there. You're probably doing way better than you think. But if you flipped it and you're focusing on the technical side and then
oh no, froze again. Oh no, Jessica froze again. We'll get her back on here. Let's see if I remove her, add her back. She'll probably go back and jump on, and we'll wrap everything up here in a minute, guys. I'm going to ask her my couple favorite questions that I do in these interviews, asking about her favorite resources, and then the final question that I love to do, which is always fun. But a lot of great stuff there from Jessica all throughout the interview here. But let's see. Gotta love technology, Liz. Yes, it's the best. Thank you, Liz. And Annie, I saw you said thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully you got a lot of good answers there. I'm going to wait just another minute here while she jumps in, and then we'll wrap this up. It's the beauty of live TV. I'll just let it go. But really like that last bit she said, as I referenced with her, just talking about how, you know, focus on that value of the content. Don't just try to do all these quick fixes, these, you know, Band-Aids on a bullet wound. Focus on that value. But there's just a lot of tools that could occasionally help you build this traffic up. So I thought she gave a lot of great advice there. But when she jumps back on here, I hope she does soon, we'll wrap this up here. Any other questions that you guys may have on this? Just typing up something here, waiting for her to get back. Awkward silence on live TV. It's the best. Hopefully everybody's day is going well. Let's see if Jessica's going to come back on here in a second. Yeah, hold on. I'm messaging her now. Hold on, let's see. Sorry about this, everybody. Again, like Liz said, gotta love technology, but we're working through this. But again, thank you guys. I feel like I'll just leave this going here, see if she jumps back in the studio, and then we'll wrap up the interview as I referenced. Let's see. A lot of interesting stuff for the couple people watching. Maybe message what are some of your biggest takeaways from this. Let me know if anybody watching the replay when you get to this mark. Yeah, we have a little bit of technical difficulties. So sorry about that. Jessica was still able to deliver tons of valuable information for everybody as well. So really happy that we got to get her on here. She just emailed me. I think the Wi-Fi cut out for good. So I'm going to cut the interview here, everybody. Thank you for watching. We did get a lot of great stuff from Jessica today. We were going to do a Whose Tagline Is It Anyway? We'll put that on pause for today. I have another interview coming up tomorrow for like SEO week here at the Facebook Copy Co-op group. But again, tons of great information for her on this. But yeah, thank you everybody to watching. Annie, Liz, thanks for chiming in with some comments, and Annie, thanks for your questions. But everybody, we will see you on the next Proceed with Passion Q&A. Hope you guys enjoyed this one with Jessica Foster of Keys and Copy. Thanks.